Thank you for watching a Chaney Twins video. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Chaney Twins. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and also click on the notification bell to get notifications.
Okay, you guys, we're back with another makeup tutorial video, holiday makeup. Let's begin. So we have Nina here. She's putting on a Milk Hydrating Primer. And then we're going on to put together a brow look by using the Benefit Precise Brow Pencil. And what I'm doing here is just filling in the brows. I'm not outlining them yet. I'm just simply filling in the brows. That is an important step to do. It's just filling the brows, because if you start outlining, you get kind of lost, or possibly making your brows too big for beginners. So go ahead and fill in the brows at the end with just some even strokes. Now what I'm doing is, after I filled in the brows, I'm just simply outlining the brows, as you can see here. And you want to make sure that you're actually going close to the direction or the pattern of the brow. If you want to embellish your brows, to do it thicker, you can. I just like a natural look. I'm using Born This Way concealer by Too Faced, and also, like I said, the Benefit Precise Brow. Then I also decided to try the ColourPop, which is pretty good. So we're going to start with ColourPop first. I'm actually laying down a coat of the ColourPop really precisely under the brow, not on the hairs, just right underneath the on the brow bone. That works as a primer, and it also make your brows look really, really, really crisp. So as I'm doing that, I'm just simply just blending it all out, making sure that it's really even. And whatever you have on the brush is just what you use. You don't have to double dip and continue doing it, because it'll make the look muddy when you put your shadows on. So what I'm doing now is blending. You want to make sure you blend, 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 blend. And you also want to be careful, because you don't want to get any on the brows. But if you do get it on the brows, I'm going to show you in a few minutes on how, or a few seconds on how you would fix that. But what's really important is that you blend it very well, because we're going to go on top of that with a translucent powder. Blending is really important, because you want to make sure that when you lay your transition powder and your eyeshadow, you get a easy and smooth layout of your shadows. So what you're going to do is repeat the look on the other side. You're going to continue blend, 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 blend. Continue blending, and make sure that you are moving the product around and making sure that everything is blended out. You necessarily don't want to blend it out so much that you're taking the product off. You want to just blend it all smoothly, as you can see that I'm doing here, and I just bring the product down on the lids. It's important that if you have extra, to go ahead and blend it down on the lid, because like I said, you want to make sure that you're blending it everywhere instead of just pulling a lot of the product off. Like I said, you got to fix those brows. If you do get concealer on your brows, just go back with your pencil and refill the area in that you might have hit with the brush. What I'm doing now is taking a tapered brush and go ahead and blended that in. I believe that's a taper brush. We'll get into brushes at a later tutorial, but right now you want to make sure that you blend. I believe I use Born This Way on the top of the brows, because it's a little bit darker. You want to always do a darker color on the top of your brow and a lighter color on the brow bone. And we do that because we want to give your face dimension, and we want to make sure that your foundation is easy to blend in the upper part of the brows and forehead area. I'm actually taking my powder brush, and I'm just blending it all in. That is the same brush that I use for my Laura Mercier translucent powder that we're going to be using in the next steps. But you want to make sure that you're evening the concealer out and you're blending into the skin to give that airbrush look. So I'm just blending, 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 buffing it off, buffing it into the skin, just to make sure that everything is even, and so I won't have a pile up of concealer. That is the Laurier Mercier, the Laurier Mercier powder. I think it ranged for about $38. It's a good powder to have. It gives you a translucent look. They I want to say about a year or 2 years ago, they came out with a deep powder for women of color, which I love. I also get the regular translucent powder that has it's not completely white, it has a cream tint to it. I also purchased that for under the eye. I use that sometimes for under the eye, but not in this video because we tried a new product on Nina today. But we're covering the entire face with the Laura Mercier powder, translucent powder in deep. Again, that powder retails for $38. So I want to continue to blend it all in into the skin. The reason why we do that because the foundation grips better, and it also gives a flawless matte look. Like I said, it is okay to go back with your pencil to hit any of those areas you might have hit with the brush. So here we're just continuing to fill in those brows, making them precise and even and nice. The reason why I don't like to do the thick brows because our face is that's me. I want to make sure that we talk about that. That is me actually blending in with the spoolie to make a softer look on the inner brow. That is really important. You don't want your brows to look harsh because you tend to look mean and angry. So you want to make sure you soften those up. And the palette, the Juvia's Place palette that you just saw, I used an orange looking color. You can also use a pink, a lighter color because you want to make sure you come up with a transition color. We're using an orange base here because Nina decided that she's going to go with gold for her transition look. And I just like to give that soft golden brown. So we went with the orange. And that's in the Juvia's Place palette. Juvia's Place currently have a sale running for 50% off. You also can use the code HOTFIRE to get additional 10% off your total. It does not include new products, so make sure you run over to Juvia's Place to get those palettes. So the palette that I was using is one of their Juvia's palettes, and I think it usually ranged for $20, but it's on sale for $12. And then, like I said, you do get a deal on it. Nina did not like that I am plucking her brows, but I just took those extra hairs and to pluck those so we can have a cleaner look. As you can see, we do have little hairs that are loose, and so we are plucking those. So I go back with the transition color, the orange color, just to make sure that we got an even look after I had done the pluck the brows a little bit. We didn't get them as perfect as I wanted to because Nina does not like having her brows plucked. She prefers the razors. What I do want to say is that I don't do brows. You usually clients usually come in to get their have their brows already done, and what I do is just clean them up. Now to the shadow, I got a darker brown, and what I'm doing is going to the outer part, and then I bring it to the inner part of the crease. That is important that you don't. It is important that you don't start with your dark color and go from the inner, because the inner lid just can't hold that much of a dark color without it looking muddy and washed out. You don't want a raccoon look unless you're doing a smoky eye, and we're not going for a smoky eye right now. So I suggest that you go in with go to the outer and go in so you won't lose your transition color. Also, you want to make sure that you are blending your colors straight across. And this is a time where you're just blending it in. We're not using the pat method where we're going to talk about the pat method of patting the shadows on the lid. Here I'm just making sure that I'm blending everything out. It does take some time, and you want to make sure that you are taking your time to blend it so you can have a transition look. Also, tap off your brush. Tap off your brush when you have before you put the transition color on. As you can see, I am priming Nina's eyes with the ColourPop concealer, and that's just to give a primer for the eyeshadow. I do have several eyeshadow primers made by Too Faced that I could use, but because I just have my concealers out and they have a base, I prefer to use that. I also like to use NARS concealer, and you get that in the lightest color that they have, and NARS concealer works well as a base for shadows. What I'm doing here is taking a brush to blend that concealer out. Like I said, I use the concealer as a primer, and what I'm doing is blending it out. You also save money if you don't have to buy a primer. You're already buying concealer for your face, so why not? Now the NARS concealer that I use for the lids, I don't necessarily use it on my face, but I do use it on my lighter skin tones clients. So I do get dual use out of it. But with a eyeshadow primer, you won't get dual use. So kind of save money. You can use concealer with that. So what I'm doing is once I put my concealer down, I go back again with that browner shade. And I start blending because I want the crease to be seamless when it meets with the concealer. And so as you see, I'm just blending it all out. And we are reaching for the first gold color that we're doing, and you see how I'm using the pat method. I'm just patting the place to lay that color down. I'm just placing it down, and I'm patting it. I'm patting the shadow in place. It's really important that you don't just rub it in, because the color fades, and so you want to give that bright and a great payoff by just patting it in place. So what I'm doing is just patting my first color down on the inner lid and going out to meet the darker brown. Just go ahead and go over the entire lid. Now some people, what they do, they like to just stop it at a certain area if they know, because we are going to use another color, but I just like to cover the entire lid. I feel like it gives that ombre color it does it justice, because it just looks like a rainbow and really great transition. And you don't have to work your client's lid so much if you just go ahead and just place the entire color, your first color, over the entire lid. This is good when you're using golds and other colors. For the next step, we're using an orange color. As you can see, I'm placing it down towards the darker brown shade, and I'm just patting it down. You also see me actually blending it also. So we're doing the pat and blend method, because you want to make sure that that bronzy orangey color transition to the gold that we pressed down. I also want to go back with the brown. Make sure you you want to make sure that you pat off the excess color, and you blend it well. You don't want to pat too much color on without actually tapping your brush, because you might put too much of the dark color on. Here you see me lining with an eyeliner. I'm using a Too Faced liner, and I'm just going over with the shadow. I must have said something silly because Nina is laughing. We do try to talk during our conversations to make the experience a little bit more entertaining. So here I'm just taking a brush and blending everything in, and taking that brow pencil and cleaning everything up. You can see here where I am taking the bronzy brown orange color under the lid and just smoking it out. Here I'm blending again, blending with the transition color brush. Not transition color but the brush, but the translucent powder brush, just to make sure that I'm giving an even tone. We added a little foundation. The foundation that I'm using is the Hourglass foundation, and it is the seamless foundation. Nina only needs just a drop of the foundation. I put it on my
hand just to warm it up, and I'm just making sure that I'm blending it in just so it won't give that heavy appearance on her face, because she doesn't have any blemishes um, or too much hyperpigmentation, so she doesn't need a lot of foundation. Those of you guys who have that flawless skin and not a whole bunch of scarring or discoloration due to acne don't need that much makeup, and it will just sit on the skin instead of blend in. So you want to make sure that you're not using a heavy foundation. This hourglass is full coverage. Someone like Nina would benefit from more of a lighter weight foundation because her skin is not suffering from any scarring or from acne or anything else. So a lightweight foundation would be better. Right now, I'm actually using a Too Faced concealer to lighting under the eye. Right now, I'm just showing you the hourglass bottle, but we're using a beauty blender. I'm using a damp beauty blender because it is full coverage. If you're using a lightweight full coverage and you're not using a brand name, you might have trouble using a wet beauty blender because it will potentially or possibly lift up your foundation and also your concealer, and it's really hard to correct that problem once that happens. So make sure you're familiar with your foundation and what you're using. A lot of high-end products that you use to put down for concealer on top of your foundation tend not to lift with a wet beauty blender. The reason you use a wet beauty blender because it gives more of a airbrush look. I'm going back with that same brush to brush out to make it even. Right now, we are using a powder by Laura Mercier, and it is the under eye powder. The price is about $28, and it is actually called the Secret Brightening Powder that we use under the eye, and it's actually in the color, well, number 2 powder. And right there, I'm using a Laura Mercier translucent powder, and that's where it has that cream tint to it that I was talking to you guys about. So before we were using the brown powder, right, and deep, and now that's just regular translucent powder. Oh, I just sprayed the spray just to give that so it won't look too matte or too powdery. So we spray it. There, I'm just using a cold pencil to give to outline the waterline of the eye. I am using a blush by MAC called Raisin. I like to just go ahead and just put it on the cheekbones, do the same on the other side. I also like to use my transition brush to go over the blush because I like to for the Raisin MAC powder to look like it's coming underneath the skin. There, what I just showed you was the Becca powder, the bronzer, and that retails for, I believe, 38 as well, or 40. I think 38 is the matching number. I also put that bronzer on or highlight on the brow bone as well, and on the cheeks, the apple of the cheeks, and we just blend that very well. Sorry, I have to talk really fast. We're on to, because I just want to make sure that this video is not 45, it's under 30 minutes, or right at 30 minutes. Right now we are applying the lashes. The lash glue that I used was the Super Strong Hold Lash Glue by I Envy, by Kiss, actually by Kiss. It's called I Envy, but it's made by Kiss. And it actually sticks the brows down really, not the brows, I'm sorry, the lashes down really well. I like to shape the brows, so that's why you're seeing me like curve them. We're just trying to check out the look and look at it. That is a MAC pencil by Chestnut, and we're just applying the lip liner down, making sure it's all even. Going back to
the lashes. You want to make sure when you're doing your lashes, not only because you're doing your client's lashes, that you are using hand sanitizer and making sure your eyes are clean, because our eyes are very sensitive, and you want to make sure that your eyes are clean. I meant that your hands are clean. There, I'm using the matte red lipstick. I believe it is in stiletto. I'm not 100% sure. I am actually making sure that around the lip area is clean by using a beauty blender. Here, I just felt that it wasn't too much of an ombre look, so I used a little powder to darken the lips so it could look more ombre. You can also go back with your chestnut liner to do that ombre as well. There we're applying a on, I think that's a full closure or front leg, I'm not sure, but Nina brought her wig over, and so what I am doing is making sure that I put the foundation on the hairline of the wig. This is a glueless wig, and so we want to make sure that it's not rolling up and that we are matching it with the skin tone. And it's really good if you're going to your makeup artist to bring your wig if you're gonna put it on later, because you necessarily may not have that foundation. So that was very smart, Nina, to do that. As you can see, we're blending, and it looks pretty good. That concludes our video. Don't forget to subscribe, click the notification button, and like. Stay tuned for our next video. Thanks for watching.